You know, I've been sitting here trying to decide how to start this video. And the best way to start it is by saying the reason why I knew that I had to leave my abuser was that same feeling that I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling this tense feeling in my chest because it's causing me to open back up all of these feelings that I've had to deal with over the years. And when I began to feel like that with the person who was abusing me, I knew it was time for me to make my exit plan. And so that's what I want to talk about in this episode too. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, to me, all of them are horrible. Some people like to say the degree that someone was hurt is like different than the other one. No. Whether you were bleeding, broken bones, shot, whatever. I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but abuse is abuse. And no one should try to say that one is less counted than the other. That's what I'm trying to say, if you get what I'm saying. So in my situation, there was a lot of verbal abuse. Some of it was dismissed because when you live in such a dysfunctional way, dysfunction becomes normal. But dysfunction should never be the norm. Never. Now this video, I decided to drive while I'm recording it because to sit still might be harder. So I said I'm going to record while I'm heading to the store. So you see me moving around, the car is moving around because obviously I'm driving. But anyway, verbal abuse was at a high level in my relationship. That's what was there, not initially, but it began to come along maybe say 5 months into the relationship. And I would say, oh, maybe they're just having a bad day, you know, trying to find a reason to rationalize it and say that that's the reason why. But it's never okay. When someone makes you feel less than you should feel, when someone makes you feel hurt or discouraged, upset, because they're just saying things that are not nice and they know they're not being nice with their words to you, it's not okay. And that happened to me so many times I can't even begin to count. Okay? There was never anything initially physically happening, but those red flags were there and I dismissed them. Yes, that's what it is. I'm going to speak very honestly and candidly in this video, as I will try to do in every video in this series as I tell my domestic violence testimony. The first time that I was physically assaulted was when we moved into a dwelling together. The first night that we moved into a dwelling together, his personality drastically changed. When I say drastically changed, I mean drastically changed. Okay, now that night, as usual, we finished our evening duties, went to bed. I went to sleep. I assume he went to sleep, but honestly, I don't know. I know that I was tired. I went to sleep. Maybe it was about 1:45 a.m. in the morning. Suddenly, I feel the comforter yanked off of me. And it was, cold. Your AC is going or whatever. And I felt cold, but I also felt the sudden shock to my body that I went from being nice and comfy to cold. And I felt the yank of the comforter And so I was startled. And I'm like, before I could like say what's going on, I felt my left arm being yanked. And when I say yanked, I mean yanked. And before I could take a good breath, I had fallen off the bed, which was one of the high beds, because I always like to have a high bed. And then the next thing I know, I had fallen on the hard tile and I hit my left hip. Now, mind you, my left arm was yanked. And suddenly I'm beginning to hear words about whatever the situation was. Those details right now are irrelevant. Then the next time that I can remember right now, I mentioned it in the first video. We were going somewhere and he literally popped me on my hand as if a mad father, ones who use corporal punishment or physical punishment. Everyone does not, discipline in that manner, but the sting that was on my hand, it wasn't like he said like, oh honey, stop, oh baby, stop. No, he really hit me on my hand. Then he tried to casually say, oh, just I want to listen to that, or whatever he said. But the fact is, he hit me. And I saw the expression on his face, so I knew by the expression on his face, because that's what I was looking at, regardless of whatever the words were that were coming out of the mouth. You read the whole body. And when I mentioned in the first video, we were heading to visit his family at that time. So here I am, riding with someone who has already made me feel uncomfortable in this journey. And I'm far from home in a remote little town. Then I'm going around this person's family, acting like everything is okay. And all the while I'm thinking, will I be safe going back home? And I just had to start praying, because I believe that prayer changes things, and prayer is my protection. Needless to say, obviously I made it back home safely that night. Then after that, so many things have happened in between that. We ended up being separated, not in the same dwelling, but yet because of how things were, I tried to be civil. I tried to see if anything could be reconciled. That was my thought. Of course, when you deal with people with this type of mindset, they will do anything to get you to come back, buying you things, giving you money, whatever it is that they know that you like. They will do their best and go overboard, right? One day, I went by. As soon as I went in, I noticed that a bear, the big like portrait that you can take, it's not I'll just say it was a very big portrait, like the big portrait. It was hanging on the wall, and when I walked in, it was behind the pillow on the couch. And immediately in my brain, I knew, I said, that's not good. Now, when I went by, my plan was not to stay. I simply went by because he kept calling and calling and calling. Knowing what I know now, that should have told me something. But I said, okay, he's calling. Let me go by and see what he wants. So I went by. When I went by, I could tell once again by his face and his hands on his hips and just the look in his eyes that he was not okay. Now, that particular weekend, I went out of town without him because we were separated. And obviously, he was upset. He didn't say it, but his body language said it. So here we are, and all of a sudden, he wants to see my phone. Mind you, we're separated. Okay? And I'm just going to leave that at that. So long story short, I go get my phone, but in the process of going to get my phone, I try to run down the road. Because by this time, his demeanor, I could tell his heart rate was increasing. And I just knew, based on what had happened already sometime before, that it was not going to be okay for me. So when I ventured to try to run down the road, he grabbed me. And when he grabbed me by my head. Okay? And also at that time, he pushed me into the door because I was standing here trying to get my purse because he wanted to see my phone. Once I got my phone out my purse, then at that point he was holding me very tightly on my arm. And then I was resisting. So then the next thing I knew, he was grabbing me and lifting me up by my neck in a chokehold. And he carried me probably for about, I don't know, like 25, 30 feet by holding me up by my neck. And then I was trying my best not to go in the house. I was trying to resist him. He's a very big guy, much bigger than me. I'm a little shorty, 5'4", 130 pounds on a good day. And he's a big guy. When I say big guy, I mean big guy. So in the process of me trying to resist someone that's way bigger than me, I hurt my arms on the building of the house, the wall. And then he pushed me into the house, and again I fell, banging parts of my body. Then the next thing I know, I was slung into the chair. And then he proceeded to look at my phone. And the more he looked at my phone or whatever he thought was not okay, he was getting upset. And that's when he began to hit me in my face. He kept hitting me in my face. And he kept hitting me in my face. Until one point he hit me so hard that the chair flipped and I fell over. I remember falling over. Now, up until this point, whether or not I was unconscious or not is left up to whoever wants to conclude. But from what I know from being there, I was unconscious. And the reason why I know that I was unconscious, because a panicking voice began to call my name. And I kept hearing my name. But it was like I was hearing my name, but I was unable to move. And I was hearing my name, but I was unable to move. Because when I had fallen, I had hit my head once again on the tile. Tile was everywhere. The next thing I knew, I felt the back of my head being pulled. My hair had been released because I was about to wash my hair. And I was lifted by a grip of my hair. Mind you, I'm 130 pounds on the floor, and I'm being pulled up by my hair. Once again, slung into the chair. Hitting me in my face, hitting me in my face, hitting me in my chest because I was shielding my face, hitting me in my chest, saying all kind of accusations that were not true. Hitting me in my face, hitting me in my face. Then I started to talk to myself, saying, self, we are not dying in here today. And at that point, I think he was probably getting upset too because I wasn't crying. I was angry. I was fed up. And the last thing was going to happen was me to start bawling and crying in front of him. Like, I think that's what he was looking for, because he was hitting me harder and harder. My face was burning. But I refused to cry. I was not going to cry. And then I tried to calm myself down so that he would hopefully calm down. And then I guess once he noticed that my face was not looking like it was supposed to anymore, I think he slowly began to feel sorry, somewhat. Not really. So I began to speak very calmly. And I'm on the wrong lane, sorry. I started to speak very calmly. Didn't raise my voice. didn't say any bad words. And I just started to say, my head is hurting. And I just kept saying it so calmly. I said, my head is hurting me. And I kept saying it till he started to have some type of empathy, sympathy, or something. I just kept saying, I said, my head is hurting. Now, mind you, I had been strangled. I had been slung upon the side of the house. I had hit the floor like twice, 3 times, banging my head on the tile. Then he had hit me in my face, side to side, hitting me in my forehead. My head, when I tell you my head was hurting, my head was hurting. That's the only thing I could focus on at the time because that was the worst part. But as my adrenaline came down, the rest of my body started to scream too. So after I kept saying my head was hurting, my head was hurting. And of course my face was all bruised up and it had started to swell, and you know what happens when you've been hit, those things start to go in place. And he started to calm down, and I was like, I need some ice or something for my face. Let me not park there because their horn is blasting. I need some ice or something for my face. After he started to kind of, because what he found in my phone was not anything justifiable for him to be doing that. And he knew that. But anyway, so when he gave me the ice out of the refrigerator from, and then put it in a Ziploc bag so I could, you know, put it on my face all around because I was bruised. I forgot to mention the part about him throwing my phone. After he didn't find, I guess, whatever he thought he was going to find, he threw my phone so hard that my phone like broke apart, shattered, done. So we started talking, and then he started to talk about, oh, how are we going to work this out? Because he was still set on me coming back to be in the same dwelling with him. And in my mind, I'm thinking, no way. But out of my mouth, I said, well, I think we need to go to counseling. And I was talking just like this. I said, I think we need to go to counseling. I think that would be the first step. We would definitely need some counseling. And he said, okay, I'll do that. I said, okay. And then he had the nerve to say, but I need you to call me. And I'm thinking to myself, I paused again before I reacted and said anything harsh. I said, you remember that you broke my phone? And I paused, and then he paused. And then he went into the bedroom. And this was funny. He opens this drawer, and I saw like 4 telephones. And in my mind, I'm like, I didn't say anything. I was maintaining my composure, acting like I didn't notice. So he pulled the phone out. And then we proceeded to get ready to go to the phone store because I needed a phone. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you broke my phone. I think for sure you need to give me another one. Once again, I was very calm. These thoughts were in my head though, but I was very calm. And by that time, my body started shutting down. When I say shutting down, I could hardly move my legs. I could hardly move my head. My arms were hurting. When I tell you, like, my whole body was hurting, my whole body was hurting. So we get to the truck. He had one of those big trucks like some people do. And I said to him, I said, I can't get in the truck. I need you to pick me up. Politely saying that, in my mind, I'm thinking, I really don't want to get in this truck. And the only way I'm going to get in is if you pick me up. He picked me up nevertheless. We went to the store, which was like right around the corner. I knew it wasn't far because I know, where the local store was where we got our phones. So when I walked in my mind, I was like, I need to get the attention of the guy at the counter. So we walk in. There's the man at the counter. I assume it was his girlfriend or his wife and a small child. They were sitting like behind the counter. So to me, that showed intimacy. They were sitting there. So I walk in and I'm like looking at the lady, like looking at her, like in my mind, look at my face. I'm like, look at my face. In my mind, I'm thinking, look at my face. She never one time looked up. And I was like, my God. So I stand at the counter, giving the guy my, security code for my phone and whatever. And I'm like, in my mind, don't you see that my face looks crazy? I was thinking to myself. The man literally looked at me, did the transaction, and I'm still just trying to like stand there like, look at me. I was trying to get help, and then I was thinking like, do I run? What do I do here? Nevertheless, I got back in the truck again. He picked me up again because I could not hardly go, couldn't hardly walk. We went back to his dwelling. Another part of the story that I kind of forgot, my dog was with me because we had actually gone out of town and came back. My dog was with me. I have my dog. I think most of you have met Mocha. Mocha was there. Mocha is precious to me. And some people say, oh, you love that dog. Yes, I do. But anyway, I had to go back and get my dog. That's how I felt inside. I couldn't leave my dog behind. So we get back to the house. Instead of going to the house, I went away from the house and sat in the road. Because in my mind and in my heart, I was like, I can't go through that again. I sat in the road and I said, I'm hurting. And I'm hurting really, really bad. And I just want to go home. And I said that again. I said, I'm hurting and I'm hurting really bad. And I just want to go home. And then at that part, he started sounding as if he was going to cry. I promise I'm not going to hit you again. I promise. And he just kept saying, I promise. Then he put his hands in his pocket like a little boy that's going to get in trouble. And at that point, he looked so remorseful. So I slowly got up, walked very cautiously, watched his movements, watched his body, watched his demeanor. And I went in the house. We sat down and had another unnecessary conversation talking about counseling once again. And then he said, make sure you call me later. I said, okay, I will. Talking about a white lie. That was a white lie. And the other things that I said that I didn't mean because my head was saying something else, those were white lies. If someone wants to say those were white lies, right? Anyway, I had my phone. Can't call 911 without a phone, right? But who I called someone who I love and who I know would guide me and take care of me. I went to my big sis. And my big sis said, you got to go to the emergency room. She took me. I had to secure my dog. I had to find a place for her. She's never been away from me, but I had to secure her somewhere because I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know if I had to stay at the hospital or what. So I had to put her in a secure place. I did that. Went to the hospital. My sister did what she does best because she's a good girl. She told him exactly why I was there. The next thing I knew, here comes the deputy. They do their part. They take their pictures. I'm pulling off my gown, showing them this and showing them that, and pulling up my gown and showing them this and that that's on my body. I didn't even realize I had what I had, but I knew what had happened. But because the adrenaline is rushing and you're fearing for your life, you don't know what is really happening until you have a chance to calm down and realize what is really happening. Long story short, the next 5 years, I struggled to recover. struggled to recover physically, struggled to recover mentally, emotionally, financially. And because I had already made preparations to be leaving town, because I knew what was unfolding, I called some wonderful people and they came and rescued me. And when I say they rescued me, my church family at that time, they rescued me. Those individuals, they were like angels. They came to my apartment, and when I tell you my apartment was packed and loaded up on a truck in like it felt like it was less than an hour. And I kid you not, I was amazed, I was grateful, I was thankful. When I tell you when I felt the love of my church family that day, I felt the love that day. If I've never ever felt the love, I felt loved that day. My pastor was there, and I don't remember how many people came, but they came like soldiers because they knew what the situation was about, and they packed me up and loaded me up, and I was ready to hit the road to get out of that city. This is episode 2, and I'm going to end it right here. And I'm going to say that if you are in a situation, whether it be verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and you know for a fact that the person that you are with is not a safe person to be around, I'm going to politely say, make your plan to get the heck out of there. And I mean that sincerely. No one can predict when and how or what will happen. A lot of people, even today I was speaking to someone and I felt the pain of that person. So many women and men are in pain because they hang around in a relationship, whether it's a marriage relationship or a boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever you want to call it. If there is abuse, get away. Get out. Is it fun starting over with no money? No, I did it though. I did whatever I had to do because dying was not an option. And if I had hung around, I don't think I would be here making this video for you today. And that's the God honest truth. I knew that I had to get out of town because of the mindset of the abuser that was in my life. If you're still watching this video, I would like you to share it. Just share it on whatever platform that you use. Share it to someone specifically that you know you would like them to get out of whatever situation they're in. Share it to someone just because, and ask them to pass it on to someone during this special month. But every month I advocate for domestic violence because I know that every month people are dying. Women and men are being shot. Children are being shot, caught up in domestic violence situations because those individuals that are abusing, they are selfish. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family because they'll take you, they'll take your family. Share the video. If it has had any impact on you, share the video. But as I close this video, as always, I want to say that you're special. You are valued. You are blessed. You are smart and wise, and I'm expecting that you make the best decisions for yourself and for your family. Once again, Vita is signing off and out of here until the next video. Take care and bye for now.